Hi, and thank you for joining me for today's process video. And today I'm documenting a trip to Bilbao in Spain. On our recent cruise, we had a stop there for the day. So we got the free shuttle bus into Bilbao and then walked down to the Guggenheim Museum because it was something I really wanted to see. It was a gorgeous sunny day and we took a few pictures of the museum and us outside it. So that's the photos that I printed off. So they're printed off in 3x4, 2 photos on a 4x6 paper. And then they're all landscape rather than portrait. Some of these photos I did change I edited them so that they were landscape. They were originally taken as portrait, so I lost a bit of the palm trees in the top photo, but it really didn't matter. And I wanted to create like a watercolour background to sit these 4 photos on. So I've chosen 2 colours that work really nicely with all the blues in the photos. So I've got fossilised amber for the yellow, and then the pink is saltwater taffy. So I've watered those down to make like a watercolour paint, and then used my large brayer to brayer them all over the page, using the yellow in the top half and the pink in the bottom half, and then blending them a little bit in the middle. I then grabbed my Hey Little Magpie stamps. I've got the script background stamps, and I'm using Hickory Smoke Distress Oxide to just stamp that a little bit in the background. And I've not added it to a block so that I don't get the harsh edges that you would get if they were on a block. And I'm just stamping that around the edges of where the photos are going to sit. So now that background's completed, using a brayer is brilliant because it does more or less dry instantly because you're forcing that paint into the paper and not leaving lots sitting on top. So I can just carry on with creating my background. So first of all, I'm matting all 4 photos on white cardstock, and then I am going to use some of my papers to mat those as well. So I pulled out Pretty Little Studio Good Vibrations because I've got lots of papers left from that collection. I've also pulled out all of my Pretty Little Studio You Are My Sunshine embellishments to mix in with that because they go so well with the mood and feel of this page. So there are the 4 photos matted onto white, and now you'll see I'm going to pull out some paper. So first of all, I pull out this lovely pink with white polka dots, and I'm going to sit the pink onto the yellow section of the page, and then I'm going to find some more yellow tone papers to sit on the pink section of the page, just to bring those 2 colours in together and create some uniformity. So you saw that pink with the white spots for the first photo. The second photo I've gone for a slightly deeper pink, like a salmon pink, from this scrap that I had left over from a previous layout. And I'm just using my scissors to trim that down, leaving a decent sized border, slightly bigger than I normally would. And I'm just fiddling with the photos as I go down to see how they're going to lie on the page, because I don't want to lose too much of the actual photos themselves. Now this one is of a large spider that was outside the Guggenheim by the river and the bridge. And you can see I've pulled out a paper that's got some pink and some yellow on it, just to blend those 2 colours together. And then this bottom photo I'm going to stick onto that white paper with yellow hearts. You don't see the hearts, it's just colour around the edge of it. But I thought it was quite suitable using hearts with a picture of my family. So that's how it's going to sit more or less on the page. So I'm going to, I say I'm going to rough up the edges. I rough up the edges of the first photo and then decide to stick the top photo on next, just so that I make sure that they're equidistant from the top and the bottom. But because I'm so focused on doing that, I completely forget to rough up the edges of the rest of these photos. It's only when I finish gluing them down, I look and think, gosh, that looks a bit clean, and realise what I've done. So when I get these other 2 stuck down onto the page, I am going to use my fingernails and just distress those edges, just so that they all look like that bottom photo. If I hadn't done the bottom one, I probably would have left them without distressing, but because I'd done that bottom one, I realised that I needed to do the other ones. So just bringing my T-square ruler in here just to check that they are all straight. There's ever so slight warping on the page from the watercolour, so it's hard for the naked eye sometimes to tell, so I just wanted to bring in my T-square to check, and here I am roughing up all those edges. I also noticed that second photo on the left hand side of the spider isn't quite straight, so I will pull that up and straighten it in due course. I might have already done it actually, but it does get straightened anyway. So this trip was fabulous. I'd never been to Bilbao before, so it was nice to see a little bit of the city, but mainly, like I say, we walked down to the Guggenheim and then found some of the parks as we were walking back up to the bus station. It was just beautiful. I think the sunshine definitely helped as well. So I pulled this title out that says Sun and Fun because I thought that would be suitable for this layout. And then I'm just going to pull out some other bits. I wanted a journaling space underneath that title, so I've just found one of the Good Vibrations journaling tags to put down there, and then I also wanted a little sun to the left of that, so I found that in this little pack here. I thought it was going to go next to that photo, but it looks much better on that journaling tag at the bottom, so that's where I put it. And then I'm going to pull out some of the florals. At the front of the museum, you had to walk up quite a few steps from the river, was a gorgeous little dog covered in flowers, like a topiary dog. So I am going to document that in a future layout, but these flowers are just a nod to that fact. So just a few. I didn't want loads of florals on here, but that yellow frangipane I thought looked really nice, and the white one looked nice to the left. And I'm going to bring in some foam pads as well, just to raise things up and create a little bit of dimension on the page so it's not all flat. So just raising that sun up there, and the title's up on foam as well. Just sticking that little lemon slice underneath, just to draw the eye out to the left a bit. I noticed that I moved the photos over to the right ever so slightly, so I just wanted to build up the layers on the left-hand side a little bit more. So just adding foam to the top of this floral as well. I'm going to stick it flat underneath the photo, but then I've got foam on the edges just to raise that up. And then that little frangipane is just going straight down. There's a little bee from one of the paper packs from You Are My Sunshine. And then I'm going into this pack because I noticed this little phrase, I suppose. It says, "We didn't realise we were making memories, we just knew we were having fun." And I thought that would work really nicely here. I did consider tucking it under the photo, but in the end I just stick it on top, so you lose the fact that there's a lake around the back of the museum, but I can still remember that. And actually, because it's raised up on foam, you could pull that tag up to see the bottom of the photo if you really wanted to. So because I've got that one, I will bring some more in just to balance everything out. So that one's going to go there, and your eyes aren't deceiving you. The typing is slightly wonky on those lines. So the lines are straight, but the typing slopes off down to the right. So it looks a little bit like it's not straight, but it is. So I found this word phrase that says sunshine, and I thought that would fill in that gap nicely between the top two photos. So just tucking the edge underneath that floral, and again I've mounted it up onto foam just so that it stands proud. And then I found this little bluebird. I was looking for something to fill in the gap next to that sunshine title, but in fact I leave it as it is, and I do quite like it when the layout's finished. So that bluebird just goes to the right there. And then at the bottom I found another phrase label that I wanted to add, and it says, "I only want two things in this world. I want summer and I want us." So that's going to sit under the photo of my family. Again, it's raised up on foam just to give it dimension. And then this little pink heart, like I say, draws the eye out slightly to the left just to balance the layout, because I've moved the photos a bit too far over to the right. So just gluing some more little bits and pieces down. There's another little bee there, and then that heart, it's going to go there. And then I'm going to grab one of these word phrase pieces. This is from the Good Vibrations collection. It works perfectly with the summer one as well. So I think I shall put all of this together in the one envelope now. And that one just says, "Glad you're here," because I felt like I needed something down the right hand side of that bottom photo. So just gluing that down. I've just roughed up the edges with my fingernails again, and then looking through the stickers to see what else I can add. And I spot this Seas Today sticker, which I'm going to pop above that floral. Again, just increasing that line over to the left a little bit. And then this star I just add to the right of that label there, just to fill in that little gap, and I like the way that looks. So another little label for the top, and that's going to hold my date in due course. Just using my roller date stamp for that, like I always do. And a little ribbon loop to the left, again drawing the eye out to the left. and this black makes everything else pop. Because I've got black in a couple of places about the page, I wanted to bring in a black ribbon. So here's my roller date stamp, so just popping that at the top there, 8th of April. And then I've got these lovely little floral pieces. These are actually from a ribbon in the Hey Little Magpie embellishment kits. I can't remember if it was in the April kit or if it's in the forthcoming May. But I've just cut 2 flowers off and popped one at the bottom and then one underneath that white flower there. So now some sequins. I do love sequins, and they just add a little bit of sparkle to the page. So I've gone with blue to match all the blue in the photos, just to tie that into the rest of the layout. I won't make you watch me glue all that down. I should do that off camera. And then finally I'm going to come in with some gold splatters, just using my gold watercolour paint to finish off. So that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. I do hope this provides some inspiration. Check out Pretty Little Studio. They've got gorgeous collections and they all seem to work really nicely together. So even if you just grab a few bits from each collection, you'll have a really nice selection to choose from. Thanks again. Bye.